Good morning, champions, and happy Wednesday. Today we're going to review some of the skills that we've been learning in this unit. By the end of today, you'll be able to multiply a fraction by a whole number, multiply two fractions, and multiply a decimal by a whole number. After you watch this video, you'll take your exit ticket, and then you can get on Prodigy. I know you're going to do a great job, and so does Mr. Smiles. Let's jump right in. Let's start with 2/3 times 5. When I multiply a fraction times a whole number, that means I have 5 groups of 2/3. I'm going to multiply the numerator times the whole number and leave the denominator the same because I'm not cutting each whole into a different amount of pieces. When I multiply 2/3 times 5, I get the improper fraction 10/3. 2 times 5 is 10, and my denominator stays 3. My next step is to change that into a mixed number by dividing 10 divided by 3. When I divide 10 divided by 3, how do I write the result as a mixed number? Well, 3 goes into 10 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. And when I subtract, I have 1 left over. That's 3 and 1/3. Now you try one. What's 3/4 times 3? First, write your result as an improper fraction. Well, 3 times 3 is 9, and my denominator is 4. How do I write 9/4 as a mixed number? When I divide 9 divided by 4, 4 goes into 9 2 times. 2 times 4 is 8. And when I subtract, I have 1 left over. So, my answer is 2 and 1/4. Today on your exit ticket, you'll see one question that asks you to multiply a fraction times a whole number. Let's look at another example. Now we're going to multiply two fractions together. When I multiply fractions, I can think about it as if I'm finding the area of a rectangle. So I'm going to multiply one side that's 1/2 and one side that's 3/5. When I do that, I create the fraction 3/10. I multiply my numerators and I multiply my denominators. So you tell me, what's 2/5 times 2/3? Well, 2 times 2 is 4, and 5 times 3 is 15. So the answer is 4/15. Let's look at another couple problems. Yesterday we talked about multiplying decimals, and we said that if we have 0.6, that's the same as 6/10. I'm multiplying that times a whole number, so my denominator is going to be 10. The easiest way to find the denominator is to count the number of digits behind the decimal. 6/10 has one digit behind the decimal. So that means my answer is going to have one digit behind the decimal. I can multiply 5 times 6 like normal. What's 5 times 6? 5 times 6 is 30. I need one digit to be behind the decimal because my answer needs to be in the 10th place. So I'm going to place the decimal between the 3 and the 0 and put one digit behind the decimal. Now you try an example. What's 9/10 times 4? First, count how many digits are starting behind the decimal. What place will my answer need to be in? How many numbers will need to be behind the decimal? One number will need to be behind the decimal. Now multiply. What's 9/10 times 4? Make sure you put the right number of digits behind the decimal. Well, 9 times 4 is 36, and I need one digit behind the decimal. My answer is 3 6/10. Let's look at two more examples. 1 25/100 times 4. This number has a digit in the hundredths place, so it has 2 digits behind the decimal. So when I multiply, my answer will need 2 digits behind the decimal. First, I can multiply like the decimal's not even there. What's 125 times 4? Well, 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 more is 10. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Now I need to make sure that 2 digits are placed behind the decimal. 1, 2. The answer is 5 0/100, or just 5. Now you try one. 8 55/100 times 6. How many digits will be behind the decimal in my answer? There are 2 digits behind the decimal because we have a digit in the hundredths place. So my answer will also need 2 digits behind the decimal to have a digit in the hundredths place. Go ahead and multiply 8 55/100 times 6. Make sure you place the decimal correctly. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 5 is 30, plus 3 is 33. 6 times 8 is 48, plus 3 is 51. I need 2 numbers behind the decimal, so my answer is 51 30/100. Now, sometimes we'll need to multiply 2-digit numbers with decimals. We're going to do this the same way we did before. First, let's count how many digits will need to be behind the decimal in our answer. In 3 2/10 times 14, there is 1 number behind the decimal. I need an answer in the tenths place. So after I multiply, I'll need to place 1 digit behind the decimal. Now I can multiply like normal. Remember, I'm going to start by doing 4 times 32. Then I'm going to do 10 times 32. I'll start. What's 4 times 2? It's 8. Now I'm going to multiply 4 times 3. What's 4 times 3? It's 12. I'm finished in the ones place, so what should I do next? I need to drop a 0 because 1 is in the tens place. What's 1 times 2? It's 2. What's 1 times 3? It's 3. Now I need to add my partial products. 8 plus 0 is 8. 2 plus 2 is 4. 1 plus 3 is 4. How many digits did I need to put behind the decimal? I needed to put 1 digit behind the decimal. The answer is 44 8/10. Now you try an example. 48 hundredths times 15. First, how many digits are going to need to be behind the decimal? 1, 2. There are going to be 2 digits behind the decimal in my answer. Now I can multiply like normal. Multiply 48 times 15. Check your work with mine. When I multiply 48 times 15, I get 720. Where should I place the decimal? I need 2 digits behind the decimal, so my answer is 7 20/100. Now try these 3 problems on your own. What's 9/10 times 3? 9/10 times 3 is 2 7/10. Now try the next one. What's 3 25/100 times 9? That's 29 25/100. And finally, what's 1 7/10 times 45? That's 76 5/10. You did a great job on this video. Now take your exit ticket.